All right, it's another Icetown Hockey Southwest Sunday special, and we're visiting with somebody that's got a little tradition from up the hill in Flagstaff that brought it down to Oceanside Ice Arena today. We've got Doug Allan with us from Flagstaff, Arizona, and the heartbeat of NAU hockey. Doug, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for having me.
Doug, tell me a little bit about the history of hockey in Flagstaff. You've seen the NCAA, you've seen the ACHA, so give me your thoughts on the history.
Well, I haven't quite seen it all, but I've been close. So they built a rink in 1971 in Flagstaff with recreation funds. And they built it with a roof and two walls basically on it. And as you might imagine, hockey became popular quickly. They started with the advent of some NAU guys.
Right.
So the kids were playing, but the NAU guys were there, students, and they started playing as what happens. A man named Dr. Capel, who was a chemistry professor at NAU at the time, and a Minnesota guy who had played a little bit. And he became the coach and the faculty advisor in 1971. So they created club hockey at that point. Now there were no leagues. There were there are other schools that had teams. Sometimes you'd play a town team. Phoenix had 3 rinks at that time. So there were some kids in Phoenix who played. And so that's how it started. Dr. Capel, C-A-P-L-E. In fact, he's going to be inducted into the ACH Hall of Fame next weekend.
Very nice.
I'll get you some information on that. But so anyways, because of him, it really started. And in about 1975 or so, he was able to scrape up some tuition waivers from the president of the university. And as a result, more players came in. You know, they're after financial aid. So that upped the program. At one point, the team was playing bigger teams. For example, North Dakota came in 1978.
Yeah.
Yep. And they beat the NAU team, which I was on, beat us handily. But they were a national contender. In fact, I think they played the national championship that year.
Right.
And the Phoenix Roadrunners. You may remember the Roadrunners back in their prime.
Absolutely.
At the very end of the Roadrunners, they were in a Pacific Hockey League, but they were still professional. They had guys like Howie Young and one of the Carlson brothers that was in Slapshot.
Right.
They had a really good team. Well, they came up to Flagstaff, and we played in the Dome Stadium, which was built in 1977. So the team graduated from the city rink to the Dome. And so it wasn't necessarily a hockey rink, but you could play hockey in there.
Right.
And about 4,000 good seats. And when the Roadrunners came up, 4,000 people showed up.
Wow.
Because a lot of those students were Phoenix kids and they knew about the Roadrunners. So that impetus, in the early 80s, NAU dropped baseball in 1980.
Okay.
And they needed another varsity team. So because hockey had some success there and they had this facility, they decided to elevate that program into NCAA Division I status,
Very
independent.
nice.
So 1981 to 1986, there was a 5-year period. NAU had Division I hockey. Not in a league. I was an assistant coach. Jimmy Peters was the head coach for 3 years. John Mason came in for the last 2 years. And Greg Adams was probably the biggest player to come out at that time.
Sure.
15-year NHL career. Bobby Beers was there our last year. He was drafted by Boston, a little bit of an NHL career. Guys drafted, Tony Fairfield by Edmonton, Brent Mowry by Winnipeg, Glenn Engevick by New Jersey. So we had some talent.
Yep.
We got to a point where we could beat Colorado College, University of Denver. We went east and beat New Hampshire. We played Boston University in Boston. They beat us 6-3. Mr. Adams had 3 goals. So we were competitive.
Right.
Unfortunately, the Dome, the design was not all that good, and it broke down. So subsequently breaking down after a couple of years, it got to a point where he couldn't use it anymore. And the people who looked at it said it's going to cost you $1 million to fix it.
Right.
This is the mid-'80s and there was no money. The university just decided to suspend the program for a year, hopefully with the intent of bringing it back, maybe building another building on campus. State came in with a budget cut and financially, so that was the end of the program right there. So we had a 5-year run. That was good. So hockey was dormant for a little bit. The Dome never really was fixed up again.
Yep.
The city rink was still there. So in the early 90s, we started club hockey again.
Right.
So there was a bunch of kids who were at NAU playing, and we formed a team. So what you're seeing today at NAU with the ACHA now, and Division II and Division III there, the team's done very well. Travis and his dad and AJ Fairchild and Josh Brown, a bunch of guys kept that thing going. So it's really been a remarkable time at NAU, from its beginnings to getting to the pinnacle, and then now to where it is now, where things are fairly well organized.
So what we can say for certain is that hockey's always been kind of a soft spot in Flagstaff, right? People wanted to play it, wanted to see the sport.
Yep.
It just, like everything, finances has a lot to do with everything, doesn't it?
It does, for sure. And that's exactly what happened there. Now, you asked earlier about the facility that they've renovated. So you're familiar with campus?
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So on the North Field House, which is what we used to call it, they put a sheet of ice in there. They put the capability of making ice in there.
Okay.
They need boards, they need nets, they need Zamboni, they need a compressor. So there's still a lot of work to be done, but the potential is really good. If that facility gets finished, the club hockey team could play there.
Right.
Both teams. You can have the kids playing, of course, the university students, intramurals. It could really be a boon to ice sports in Flagstaff when that thing gets completed.
Doug, let's take a quick break. We'll come right back and we'll talk a little bit about the future, a little more in depth, and then we'll talk about this great tournament that you're here as a part of, okay?
Yep.
We'll be right back with Doug Allan.
In today's odor elimination, sanitizing, and deodorizing market, air spaces and fabrics are treated with very aggressive, highly toxic, and often very dangerous but cheap chemical-based solutions. These chemicals have harmful residues and pollutants that can impact your health and the well-being of those around you. This is the bad news. The good news is there's something better. That something is OxyPal. OxyPal is a fast-growing company based in Phoenix, Arizona, with franchises opening across North America. OxyPal has developed a way to eliminate, not mask or disguise, all organic-based odors in any airspace or on any fabric surface with ozone, also called trioxygen. Ozone is present in the atmosphere, and it is what protects our planet, our environment, and every living thing on Earth. Through years of research and development, OxyPal has perfected a way to harness and apply this powerful solution to purify air spaces and fabric surfaces safely and effectively, eliminating all organic bacteria, viruses, mold, fungi, and allergens on the molecular level. OxyPal has designed and perfected many next-generation and evolutionary alternative products and services safe for people, pets, and our planet. The solutions offered by OxyPal are stronger, safer, non-toxic, and a great value. Visit our website and online store today at www.oxypal.com. On our website, you can make a service appointment, buy products, or learn more about us and our great franchising opportunities.
All right, we're back with the second segment with Doug Allan. Doug, I think you and I could talk forever because we've got some ties that we talked off camera about, but I want to know a little bit about the background, and you were just telling me off camera about the building of the ACHA and how you were there to see it. So Tell us on camera, what that was like.
Well, it was the early 90s, and I was coaching a team. There was a high school tournament in Chicago called the Chicago Showcase for high school age kids. And I took a team up there, and NAU, we were just getting the program going. And so I was the coach, and the ACHA started at a hotel in Chicago. Don't remember the name of it, but so Leo Golumbewski from Arizona, Ernie Ferrari from Stanford, the guys from Penn State. There were like 10 guys that said we need a national organization. So they called it the ACHA. So that was the foundation of it, and it really now I think there's 400 teams, men and women playing. A lot of schools have different divisions. It's really an incredible thing what's happened with the ACHA.
And the big part about that is it gives opportunity, right, to just a lot of kids that maybe aren't going to get that shot at NCAA Division I or Division III. Now they have a place to play and still get an education.
Exactly, Mark. So the idea of the ACHA is having leagues and conferences, so eventually you get to a championship.
Right.
That's really the key thing, because anytime you play, you want to have results. You want to keep stats, should be playoffs. And so what they've done now with all the different divisions, they go to one particular city, different weekends, and so it's really set up really well now.
When you think back the years that U of A and ASU had some very strong club teams. I know I visited with Kelly Walker when they retired his number back, and the most prolific scorer in ACHA history, and we talk about that, and then of course the springboard that it was for ASU to advance to NCAA hockey. So when you were seeing that way back then, did you see a vision that might turn into what it's turned into?
I always had hope that could be the case, but I guess the classic examples are Penn State and Arizona State. Right. Because those guys were the kingpins of what's called club hockey or non-varsity hockey. But because they had so much success and people were following them, just like a varsity program, that really, I think, gave the impetus for people to put some money behind it. So yeah, that's been a good thing.
So now we look at UNLV coming on board, and they played Division II and got their program strong, bumped up to ACHA D1 and had some success. And I know the talk there is a few years down the road, maybe we see another team. So if you could have a crystal ball and you look forward, what do you think is going to happen in NCAA hockey here in the West?
Well, you know, that's a great question, because right now the two Alaska schools are struggling.
Right.
And Alabama, Huntsville, they were in a similar circumstance to us at NAU in the 80s.
Yep.
They're in a conference, which is good. ASU needs to get a facility, and they need to get into a league. And WCHA is probably the most common sense thing at this point. But hopefully the schools like in Alaska and Alabama can hang in there. Because wouldn't it be great if the California schools were able to pick this up? You know, they talk about the Pac-12 all the time. But if they could get some of those schools, it's big money, we know, facilities and all that kind of thing. But crystal ball, if we could do it, we'd spread D1 hockey, NCAA across the country.
You know, a lot of people tell me when I go around the country, they go, "You cover hockey in Arizona? Is there hockey in Arizona?" I'm telling them, just go to a rink anywhere in the state at any time, day or night, and you're going to see that there's hockey. And we've seen some of the proof of it with Austin Matthews and guys like that. So let's talk a little bit about that grassroots level. Are you seeing the numbers grow in Flagstaff like everywhere else?
They are. They've gotten bigger. The dilemma, of course, in Flagstaff is just that one sheet of ice.
Right.
And if you're talking school-age kids, they really can't be there during the day.
Right.
So if Flagstaff is probably at capacity, probably 200 plus kids playing now. The biggest explosion has been here in Phoenix.
Right.
So when the Coyotes came in and the facilities that they built with 2 sheets of ice, the former players who've stuck around, the competition, a kid like Austin Matthews coming out of Phoenix and becoming an NHL player. There are kids that are playing college hockey and minor pro and junior hockey. So yeah, when you see the numbers, of course there's 4 million people down here. Prescott has an arena. Yeah. We haven't seen great growth there, but potentially maybe. The biggest thing for me is Tucson.
Right.
I mean, they have 1 million people down there. They need a building.
Right.
They need something more than the Civic Center. I know it's not called that, but so in any event, the growth is good. Coyotes, we need them to start winning a little bit and stick around town, because that's really the key. Once you get the professional guys, and ASU doing really well, not only at the NCAA level, but ACHA. It's quite incredible playing out of the Oceanside. It's nice to see.
Tell me about the growth in Vegas. What were your thoughts when you heard Vegas was getting an NHL team? And furthermore, what did you think when this team in Vegas has moved up the charts and they haven't lost a playoff game yet?
Well, the success is surprising, of course. But so Vegas, back in the 70s, you and I talked about Ralph Engelstad from Minnesota. Ralph had a senior team there called the Las Vegas Outlaws.
Yep.
In fact, NAU Club, before I got there, actually played that team. And they were a team like in Sun Valley, Idaho, where former players went to play senior hockey. So Vegas has had hockey for a long time. Minor pro level, many years. And so it's not surprising that they have an NHL team there now, given the fact they've got lots of people, lots of money. But the NHL did a good thing by allowing them to have some talent.
Right.
Now, having talent is one thing, but they really picked some good guys, and their chemistry has been really, really good. And it's phenomenal what they've done this year. So good for them. Maybe Seattle's next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yeah. And if UNLV can ever get to varsity status, that will be phenomenal as well. And I think that's a direct result of the Golden Knights.
Let's take another quick break. We'll come back and we're going to talk about why you're here in Oceanside and that patch that's on your jersey and where we're going and the fundraising with the tournament that you're a part of, okay?
Sure.
Be right back with another segment with Doug Allan in just a minute.
We need you. We need you. We need you to support Wildcat hockey.
The Wildcats are back in action, and it's time to show your U of A pride at the TCC Arena. Please call for tickets or come to the TCC box office. U of A hockey is affordable and fun for the entire family.
We need you. We need you.
We need you to support U of A Wildcat hockey.
All right, we're back with another segment. This Sunday special is getting so good, folks, that this might be an hour show instead of the 30-minute type. But Doug Allan's back with me, and as I look and zoom in on the patch, it's the 10th year, but this year is actually the 12th year, correct?
It is.
Of the Billy Woody Wood Memorial Tournament. And Doug, go ahead and tell us how it all got started and what it's all about.
Okay. Actually, number 10 was Bill Wood's number at NAU.
Okay.
So Bill Woody, grew up in Robbinsdale, Minnesota. And when he got to be a teenager, early 20s, he decided to move out of Minneapolis. He moved to Flagstaff, Arizona to attend NAU to play on that club team that we talked earlier.
Right.
So he played there for 4 years, graduated back to Minnesota. He started playing a game called bandy.
Right.
Bandy's huge in Minnesota. As you know, it's a combination
Yeah.
of ice hockey and field hockey and plays on the size of a soccer field. And they have a national team in mostly Minnesota guys.
Right.
But it's very popular in Scandinavia, Norway, Finland, Sweden,
Yep.
and Russia. So Billy Wood started playing bandy, and he ended up in Sweden, and he met his wife there. Åsa is her name, and he brought her back to Minnesota. They have 4 kids. He was selling real estate. And at that time, there was pond hockey, became very popular.
Oh, yes.
And in the cities, they had an event called the U.S. Pond Hockey Tournament.
Yep.
And he had played in that. So they played on I think it was Lake Calhoun maybe, or one of the big lakes in the cities.
Yep.
He won it, and a week later, he suffered a heart attack and passed away.
Oh.
So that was 2006. So we decided, the NAU guys decided that we should try to do something for the family. So we decided we can't do really 3-on-3 outside hockey in Flagstaff because
Yeah.
we don't have the sustained cold.
Yep.
Lake Mary freezes every now and then, so we decided to do in the rink, go side to side with goalies, put the bumper pads on the blue line.
Yeah.
And so we did that in Flagstaff for 4 years. We just got it going, a bunch of local guys and maybe former NAU players, and it became kind of popular.
Right.
And so we would raise maybe $1,000 per year. And we would send that to Billy's wife, to Åsa.
Right.
And then we had a big snowstorm up there about 8 years ago maybe.
Okay.
So much so it collapsed the roof of the ice rink, the J. Lively, which is what it's called now.
Yep.
And so we decided to move that tournament to Oceanside, is where we are now.
Yep.
So this is year number 12. I organized it for the first 10 years, and whatever money we raised, we would send that to Woody's family.
Right.
And then I decided that the NAU guys should probably oversee this. And so this is the second year the NAU guys, Travis Johansson and their group, have taken it over. And last year, the money that was raised went to Brian Shadow Smith. I don't know if
Okay.
you've heard that story or not.
I haven't, but go ahead and tell us.
Well, you and I could be here all day. So Brian, Chicago guy, his nickname
Yep.
is Shadow. He's an icon in Phoenix in hockey circles. He coached for many years. He was still is part of the Coyotes off-ice staff. He used to be in the penalty box. Anyways, he had a accident a year ago, hurt himself. And so Travis and his group decided that the money last year would go to Brian Shadow Smith. And this year, I haven't talked to him what they're going to do yet. But so it started with Billy Wood. That's why it's called the Woody Tournament.
Right.
It's 3-on-3. A lot of guys are playing. The younger guys are coming up now. The little bit kids are here. It's been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. Anytime you can get on the ice at any point, it's a good time, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's friendships, and it's guys who have, some of these kids have played in Flagstaff and with NAU, and so it's like a reunion. It really
Yeah.
is.
I was talking to Travis earlier, and he was telling me that he plays with Josh Brown, who coaches the ACHA D1 team here, because him and Josh go back a ways to Flagstaff. So kind of neat to see the camaraderie, and as we know in hockey, it's like, we're all connected, right?
We are. In fact, we had NHL guys. Greg Adams has played in this tournament. You probably know Mike Vukanich, who came
Yes.
from Duluth and
Yep.
played at Harvard. He's been in this tournament. We've had a lot of talented players come and play, and it's funny. You can call it just for fun hockey.
Right.
Those guys, they get out there and they start banging around because they want to win.
And that's the way it is. It's competitive, right?
It really is. Yeah.
So
in a good way.
You and I could talk forever about this, but I'd be remiss if I let you go knowing your history up in Saskatchewan. But the tragedy with the Humboldt Broncos, I know that touched everybody, and I'm sure it touched you probably a little closer than everybody.
It's interesting, Matt, you asked that question. So when I was a kid playing, I played in the Saskatchewan Junior Hockey League. I played for a team called the Estevan Bruins. And we played, my second year in 1973, we played Humboldt for the championship. And they beat us. And so after the series was over, they picked me up for the playoffs against Manitoba. So I do have a connection with them. And I was in Saskatchewan when that accident happened.
Were you really?
Yeah, and it broke everybody's heart. I mean, people were shocked. What a tragedy. And still, it'll be reverberations forever.
We talk about the security, and everybody that's played hockey at any level has ridden that bus, right?
Yeah.
And the security that you feel when you board that bus, I mean,
Yeah.
it's like a second home to a lot of people. But give me some thoughts on what it's like traveling in a bus for that many miles.
When you hit it right on the head there. You know, it's interesting. So when we were kids, jumping on the bus, we didn't give it a second thought.
Right.
In fact, I was so grateful to be on the bus because that meant I was on the team.
Yeah.
But you're typical teenagers, right? And
Yep.
so you're there, and sometimes you're in bad weather. I mean, we never, if it was a blizzard, we never even thought about not going.
Right.
We went. And so, yeah, you're all a bunch of brothers. People have talked about that at great length now, about how the culture of hockey is that when you travel like that, and it's just you and the coaches and the staff, and sometimes the players are driving, sometimes the coaches are driving. It's quite an incredible thing, and nobody, we kind of take it for granted. Nothing's going to happen.
Right.
So something like that is so shocking, and for those kids and the families and the billet families and the teams, it's just a sad story.
And as sad a story as it is, it's also a very commendable story when you think about what the hockey community did. I mean, they stepped up and the donations rolled in almost immediately after it happened, and it really says something about the hockey community, doesn't it?
Yeah. You know, all athletics are that way, I think.
Yeah.
But hockey is a unique brotherhood and sisterhood now, as you talked about with the women. And so it's not surprising that the donations, I think, have exceeded $4 million now?
Even more than that, 14 million.
14? Wow.
The GoFundMe account was shut down just to let them start funneling money directly to them.
That's incredible.
But
incredible.
yeah, I mean, you're talking, we're approaching nearly $1 million a person that was on that bus.
Yeah. You know, and the hockey world is really small. So anybody, when you talk to people, there's lots of people have connections to, you know, somebody that knows somebody, or
absolutely,
somebody that might have been on that team or whatever. And so it's quite incredible that you can go to any city probably in the world and start talking hockey, and that'll come up in the conversation.
Well,
let's hope that it never happens again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Doug, I certainly appreciate your time, and I appreciate your insight into allowing us to jump inside the Woody tournament and more or less talking hockey. But you and I could go on for hours, I think, and we will. Let's get down and do this again sometime, okay?
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
You bet.